Welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and the New York Giants played their first preseason game of the 2021 season today against the New York Jets. The final score was New York Jets 12, New York Giants 7. So the Giants lost this exhibition game, but we know that's not really what's important in the preseason. What's important is really more individual performances and coming out of the game healthy, right? We don't want to see any key injuries during the preseason, but we do want to see some young guys start to develop. So I'm here to give my initial reaction, recap of the game, and key takeaways from this first preseason matchup. So without further ado, let's get right into it with my key takeaways. Number one that I want to start off with is the offensive line, okay? And that's kind of a tale of two halves here, because the starting offensive line is something that we've discussed quite extensively over the course of the past year, discussing Andrew Thomas and in his rookie season, really up and down, had some good moments, had some really bad moments. Same thing for Matt Parrott, same thing for Shane Lemieux. Nick Gates had some ups and downs as in his first season as a center. And Will Hernandez, of course, was not the best last year, but all of these guys are in their second season under Joe Judge. A lot of them are in their second career season or second season starting at a specific position. Will Hernandez playing the right guard position for the first time in his career. So this is kind of the same offensive line, but they're so young. In some ways, it's kind of a brand new offensive line. A lot of different little changes, and it's just a young unit. But today, the starters went out there, and in my opinion, I thought they looked pretty damn good. I thought Andrew Thomas had one hell of a game. Will Hernandez played really well. Of course, they only played, I believe, 2 drives in total, so it's hard to really judge them, especially because they're not going up against starters. The Jets pulled a lot of their starting defensive players from the lineup, and they had a lot of their backups in from the start of this matchup. So Andrew Thomas was beating up kind of on backup defensive ends and, linebackers and whatnot. But he looked really good while doing it, and he does look like an improved player. His technique did look a lot better. As we've discussed on this channel before, the angles that they were taking, the angle sets that they were taking last year are different than what they're going to be taking this year under the new coaching staff under Rob Sale. And Andrew Thomas seemed a lot more comfortable today. He had some really good run blocking reps, and he also had a very dominant pass blocking rep where he just kind of threw a guy to the ground. It was a really impressive play. He looked really good in both phases of the game. Will Hernandez looked really good as well. I was impressed with him at right guard. He lost a lot of weight this offseason, 20 pounds, pretty impressive there, but it's really showing up in his game so far. I saw him moving really nicely as a lead blocker, as a pulling guard, on some of those power gap running plays that the Giants just love to play or love to run. I thought that Will Hernandez had a really solid game. Of course, Matt Parrott, my guy, you guys know how I am on Matt Parrott. I'm really excited for him this season, but as the starting right tackle, he was a little bit less than impressive. He impressed me a lot less than the other guys on the line did. He went out there and he kind of struggled pretty badly. He let up a pretty bad sack on third down, killed a drive, went 3 and out. I believe that was the first drive of the game. Other than that, there wasn't anything that stood out from Matt Parrott that was just super bad, but that one play really just showed up because I don't even think he was going up against a starting defensive player for the Jets either. I think that was a backup for the Jets who just kind of worked him there and beat him for a sack. So you don't want to see that in the preseason, but of course it is the preseason. If you're going to get those crappy plays out of the way, do it now. And so I'm happy that Matt Parrott, if he is struggling, he's going to do it in the preseason. Hopefully not in the regular season, but for the starting offensive line, that's kind of my take there. I was really impressed with Andrew Thomas, very impressed with Will Hernandez. Feel a little concerned for Matt Parrott, but I do believe he can bounce back next week and we'll be okay. And not really too much to say about Wiggins or Nick Gates. Nick Gates was just his usual self. He didn't, really pop off, but he had a solid outing as well. But then when we talk about the backups on the offensive line, guys, we need to add some depth on the offensive line. The New York Giants need to do something about this immediately. I understand they just signed Ted Larson. They've made a couple moves here and there. They had a couple guys retire. They signed Joe Looney. He retired. Zach Fulton retired. Now they went for Ted Larson. Let's hope he doesn't retire. But regardless, the Giants still have to go out there and get more offensive linemen. This is just unacceptable. These backups, if, God forbid, anything were to happen to one of the starters on the offensive line, they go down with an injury, we are screwed at that position for the rest of the year if it were to be that long of an injury, because the backups for the Giants offensive line are just not good. Plus, we suffered another injury. Kyle Murphy was carted off today. Backup offensive guard for the Giants was carted off with an ankle injury. So we were already thin at depth on the offensive line. We just got thinner, and plus all of the depth that we saw, we were not impressed by at all. This was not an impressive outing for the Giants' backup offensive linemen. Lots of struggles there. Not much push in the running game, and they let up quite a few sacks. I believe the team let up 5 total sacks tonight, 4 from the backups and 1 from Matt Peart, the starters. So not a good outing from the Giants offensive line. We all knew that they needed to add some depth, and now we really feel that way. The pressure is on for the backup offensive lineman. The Giants absolutely have to go out there and do something to add some more depth to this squad and to this offensive line. Now, the next player I want to talk about is David Sills. Like I said, it was Sills Saturday. Let's go David Sills. He lived up to the hype. He did have a very solid performance. He hauled in 3 receptions for 49 total yards on Saturday night, and he did look like a very good player. I mean, he was out there running some damn good routes. He had a very nice curl route where he got up to the top of his route and then stopped on a dime, caught the pass quite easily, and just fell forward for a couple of yards. They did throw him, I believe, a bubble screen at one point. I'll say this about David Sills: he's not electric after the catch. He really doesn't have that burst, that quickness, where when he catches it, it's just like he hits the second gear and goes. It's not like that with him. He's definitely a possession receiver who you want to get open, have him run some good routes, which I'm going to talk about in a second, him run some good routes, get open, and make a reception. You don't really want to put the ball in his hands and expect him to run around and do too much with it, because that's just not his game. But I will say this: I thought that he was a pretty good route runner. I was pretty impressed with what I'd seen at West Virginia University, what I saw from him in training camp here and there. But listen, guys, I was kind of floored tonight with his release package. Getting off of the line of scrimmage, I was super, super impressed. He had the go route down the right sideline where he drew the pass interference right near the end zone. He gave a hard fake towards the inside and then burst down the sideline on the outside release. Nice fake inside and then goes outside. Really, really beautiful release off the line of scrimmage there. It created some good separation, so much so that the cornerback did end up holding him from behind and committing a pass interference penalty. Then he had later on in the game another great release off the line of scrimmage, used a nice swim move to get by the cornerback and got down the left sideline, hauled in that reception downfield. Really nice big gain and a great play from David Sills. Very impressed with him. He did live up to the hype. But the other training camp standout that we've been talking about a lot, Rodarius Williams, in my opinion, did not live up to the hype. I thought that he had a very rough night. I saw him struggling really badly in coverage. I saw him also give minimal effort or whiff on a couple of tackles. Wasn't too happy with that. And you know what? I think that his confidence probably got shook up tonight because he was kind of getting torched here and there. I think he wanted to play more press coverage than he was allowed. The Giants were playing off for most of the night, and that's really not his strong suit. So playing off and trying to read and react really didn't seem to fit his playing style too well, and that might be why he struggled so badly. But yeah, it was just a rough night for Rodarius Williams. I will say this: he did recover a fumble. He almost took it to the house, but was tripped up within 20 yards in the end zone. It was a very nice recovery. He saw the ball, see ball, get ball. He went and got it, and he took off with it. That was pretty cool. So I'm happy that he did have some highlight on the night, but overall it was a pretty rough night for Rodarius Williams. Next player who I believe had a pretty rough night was Qb3 Clayton Thorson. Now, he struggled pretty badly for the majority of the game. Before I discuss how poorly he played, I will at least give him credit. He did have a really nice touchdown pass. I really did like what he did on that play, because what happened there, the pocket started to break down. He climbed up through the pocket, stepped through, scrambled out to the right, found the guy wide open in the end zone. Corey Valentine for the New York Jets got lost in coverage, former New York Giant there. Got lost in coverage. Damian Willis wide open in the back of the end zone. Clayton Thorson delivered an accurate ball. I just really liked his pocket presence on that play. Thought he did a good job getting out of the pocket there, climbing the pocket, creating some separation and extending the play. But there were a couple other plays where I didn't see that from him. There was the safety at the end of the fourth quarter, somewhere in the fourth quarter. He was sacked for a safety, I think, within the final 2 minutes of the game. I felt like his pocket presence could have been much better on that play. The way that I saw it was Thorson really needs to have a better, game clock in his head, the mental clock in your head. He was holding on to the ball for a little long there, and he wasn't sensing that the pocket was collapsing quite rapidly like it had been nearly every play, because like I said, the backup offensive line was really bad. So as soon as it started to collapse, he probably should have tried to evade some pressure, get out of there. He didn't, and he did end up getting sacked for a safety, and he was also injured on the play. Prayers up to Clayton Thorson. I hope that it's nothing serious. I hope that he is okay. But yeah, it was a rough outing for him. He had quite a few downs and a couple ups, but he was pretty inaccurate here and there. There were some throws that were just way off the mark, and his decision making also wasn't exactly the best. He did throw to a covered check down on a 3rd and 7 or 4th and 7, I think. Not the best decision there, but that's okay. He is QB3. This is a guy that the Giants want to develop, apparently. This is who they have on their roster as a developmental guy, but personally, I do think that they could probably find someone better to develop, someone with more tools, someone with a little bit more tangible traits that they can develop and go along with. But anyway, now I want to get back to something positive. I will say Sandro Platzgummer did have the best play of the night. That long run from about the 2-yard line all the way down to like the 50. That dude was flying. That was awesome. The running back from Austria, part of the NFL International Exchange Program. Really cool play there. Electrified MetLife Stadium. Gave us something exciting to root for, because to that point, Giants didn't have a whole lot to root for in this game. They really struggled offensively for the majority of the night. Let's hope and pray that that's not a prelude to the upcoming season, but it was a struggle offensively for the Giants tonight, and a lot of that did have to do with the offensive line. Now, flipping back over to the defense before we wrap up here, I will discuss Carter Coughlin. Guys, Carter Coughlin was so impressive tonight. I mean, this is a guy who was an edge rusher last year, an edge rusher in college, plays edge his first, his rookie season, plays it pretty well, had some pretty nice pass rushing snaps, did a lot of QB contain, a lot of QB spy, a lot of that high IQ stuff. So we knew he had a pretty big brain in between his ears. So really cool stuff as a rookie. But then he gets to camp this year and they say, okay, we're going to transition you to inside linebacker. So now he's an off-ball linebacker. I swear, if you showed me tonight's game film of Carter Coughlin and said, this is his first, like if I had no idea who he was, you just showed me him and said, this is a guy who's been playing inside linebacker in the NFL for 3 years, I would have said, okay. Yeah, because that's what it looked like. It looked like he's been playing that position for years. It did not look like he was having a tough time transitioning at all. He looked ready for that position. He played it really, really well. I was super impressed with Carter Coughlin. I thought he did a phenomenal job in tonight's game, and I think that transition to inside linebacker is going to be one that pays off big time for him. I think he's going to have a pretty nice career there as an off-ball linebacker, playing alongside Blake Martinez and the rest of the gang with the New York Giants. So, that being said, very impressed with Carter Coughlin. I felt like he was all over the place. I know he had 5 total tackles. He had a sack. He had a tackle for loss. He was just super active in the run game, super active as a pass rusher as well. He had a couple nice plays in coverage where he tackled the receiver as soon as they caught the ball. And he was really high effort. He was trying his ass off. Like, this is a guy who got quite a bit of regular season playing time last year. Here he is playing in the preseason like it's the regular season anyway. He doesn't care about the work that he's gotten in the past. He's going to show up or show out. He played really well tonight. Very impressed and very encouraged by Carter Coughlin's performance tonight. So that's really all I have for you. In terms of the wide receiver battle, I'll discuss that really quickly before we wrap up. Darius Slayton did go out there for a little bit. I'll mention that. That was a little surprising. I wasn't sure that he was going to go out and play, but he did. CJ Board had two targets, 0 receptions. Dante Pettis, 3 targets, 0 receptions. I'll say to both of those guys, their credit, they were open on at least one of those targets each, but the throw might not have been super accurate. David Sills was lucky. He got some accurate ones, and he did show up and on the stat sheet because of that. Damian Willis, again, another guy on the back end of the roster. Giants signed him pretty recently, too. Did have 1 reception, 21 yards, 1 touchdown. Overall, though, I know that Dante Pettis did take an end around. CJ Board took an end around, 1 carry for 12 yards. That was a cool play. Nice little creative, not trick play, but a creative play designed by Jason Garrett. Let's give him credit when it's due. And so, yeah, basically, David Sills is still coming out on top of this wide receiver race, in my opinion, at the back end of the roster. Very impressed with the way that he played tonight. And overall, I think that's about all I've got for all of you. It wasn't the most exciting game. I got pretty bored towards the end of it, 12-7, and the Giants' offense was just putrid to watch for the majority of it. Like I said, main takeaways, offensive line, starters, really surprised me and looked really good. The backups, they didn't surprise me, but they looked really, really bad. I thought they were going to be bad, but maybe they did surprise me because they looked even worse than I thought. I just thought the offensive line was a mess. I thought Clayton Thorson performed really poorly, and I was a little disappointed in Rodarius Williams. Very impressed with David Sills. Very impressed with the starting offensive line, like I said, and very impressed with Carter Coughlin. I thought he had a phenomenal performance tonight. So that's pretty much it. That's my recap on the Giants' Week 1 preseason game, their loss to the New York Jets. Definitely an interesting one, and you guys know we're going to be hitting you up with tons of updates and content all throughout the week, discussing the practice, and leading into next week's Week 2 preseason game, where hopefully we'll see some action from Daniel Jones, and let's hope that Kadarius Toney will be out there as well. Oh, that's also an update that I'll give you. Kadarius Toney is dealing with an injury that he re-aggravated last week. That's what Joe Judge said tonight in the post-game press conference, because as you know, he did not play in the preseason game, but he will hopefully heal from that and play in next week's game. Fingers crossed for that. But that's all I got for you guys. That's my recap. Those are my key takeaways from the first preseason game. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please leave a like if you enjoy. Comment down below what you thought about this game. Comment what you think about the upcoming games. Of course, subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell so you do not miss a video. And I will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.